You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Thanks so much for joining in. Guys, it's your host, Brian Fullerton. Hey, actually, we have an in-studio guest. I'm looking right across from Nathan Fox with Foxscapes. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on?
I am doing good. It is good to have you over at the house.
Yeah, it's cool. Being in the studio for the first time, I
know.
It's pretty cool.
It's like rare air. You're one of like 3, 4, 5 people that have ever set foot in this like holy little studio.
Yeah. Well, you text me and I was like, nah, I'm just going to come in and I want to see the place and shoot a video.
You're an hour away, right?
Yeah, we're about 55 minutes away.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And so I'm really excited about having you in studio to share your story about business, social media, how you've grown, how you've rebranded, refined your business. So many good things. We were just reminiscing before we hit record for about a half hour here. And when did I actually bump into you?
So I think it was
we're trying to figure it out.
2015, 2016.
Yeah.
We had the Echo UAG. I know I was like 15 years old because I couldn't drive to the event.
You were there with your dad, right?
Yeah, my dad had to drive me because I didn't have my driver's license.
A very, very different social media landscape.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. See landscape. See what I did there. And but that was really cool because we were just trying to remember numbers and who was there and all this other mess. And I only had like 1,200 subscribers.
Yeah, it was really a unique time in the industry because everyone was small and everyone knew everyone.
Well, this is really fun because let's do this before we start getting into all these different topics because you and I were just reminiscing about some things. Like, here's the deal. You're only 19.
Correct.
But you've been doing lawn care landscaping for a decade, arguably.
Yeah.
You've seen all this social media stuff and YouTube. So it's funny. Like, you're probably one of the youngest guests I've gotten to interview, but you actually have so much perspective that I think is going to rock a lot of people's worlds. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been around
really good
for about 10 years, so it's been a lot of growth.
Well, let's do this. Before we jump into it, why don't you give everybody maybe just your 30 to 60 second stats about who you are, where you live, this whole deal, and then we'll unpackage your story here.
Okay, for sure. So I'm Nathan Fox, owner of Foxscapes. I started when I was about 9 years old. I did just mowing lawns in the neighborhood. Then I decided I wanted to grow my business. Had a lot of accounts just in my own neighborhood until I was about 16. Cool. Bought out another company right around 16 years old and have been servicing the Lansing market.
Wow. So you're 19 years old, bro, but you seriously sound like you're like 29. I think a lot of folks listening to this episode and this interview are going to be really impressed. I know I am, which is why you're in studio and on the show and why I've been, keeping in touch with you over the years. So we're going to break down a lot of things. I'm going to be really excited about this. So let's do this. Let's hear from the show announcements, show sponsors, and then we'll jump right into it.
Hey, lawn and landscape pros.
I'm talking to you.
Don't let your edge go dull.
Your competitive edge.
Sharpen your edge at the GIE Plus Expo this October 21st through the 23rd in Louisville, Kentucky.
Understand the words coming out of my mouth?
Innovative products, latest technology. Talk face-to-face with engineers that design your favorite equipment. Then step outside and dive into the hands-on demo area where you can drive, dig, and compare equipment to your heart's delight.
Am I wrong? No, you're not wrong.
This year, the wow gets even bigger with the new UTV test track, the hands-on drone zone, and free parking. Register now at GIE-expo.com, and we'll see you in Louisville, Kentucky this October.
All right, Nathan. So we're gonna get into your whole story here. So it's 19. I feel like I'm seriously talking to like a 35-year-old because when we were upstairs just talking for a few minutes, you're like, yeah, we got 4 trucks, 19 people, 2 armies of guys.
19 people.
I'm just messing. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But we're just having fun. So let's do this. Let's go all the way back in your long career. You're 19. So back I guess when you started at 7 years old, right?
Yeah.
I'm just messing.
Yeah, you're close to the age, but
okay. Take it away. Let's tell your story because were you 9, 10, 12 years old just doing what most American kids do? They get a mower and make some extra cash?
Yeah, for sure. So I was about 9 years old. My dad had bought a brand new push mower and I needed some money, so I went to the neighbor's house, asked to mow their lawn, and that summer it really started off. And then
cool.
Over the next 3 or 4 years, I grew my accounts from 10 to 25.
Yeah.
And then right around... I was like 12, 13 years old. I bought a zero turn.
Yeah.
just really got into the business. Then I met a good friend of mine, Bryant, and then he kind of mentored me with the business and going into the Okemos market, which is kind of our high end neighborhoods in our area of Lansing. So
okay.
Then like I said, I got my driver's license. Bryant was fortunate, and he kind of wanted to get out of the business. So then I took over all of his accounts. And then I kind of grown it up ever since. And we've been really growing every year. So,
well, it's funny because I say once about a year, you and I get to catch up. It's actually been 2 years since I last got to catch up. And in fact, if you guys remember, Nathan, the voice might sound familiar because we did that video at the Suburban Collection Showplace, and you were there. You actually ducked out of school. Probably with parents' permission, but probably would have did it without. And you had shot me a message. You're like, "Hey, do you want me to be in Novi tomorrow at this Techo Block event?" You remember this? And I was like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Don't you have school tomorrow?" And you're like, "Yeah, well, there's like an event going on, and it was a Techo Block."
Yeah.
And I didn't go to it that year. I went this year. By the way, super cool time.
It was a cool event.
I should have definitely went there a few years ago and went to that mill. Great people there. But what were you doing? You were like 16 at the time.
Yeah. So I think it was right when I bought my
white truck.
My white truck. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I had just turned. It was probably 17.
17-ish.
And I bought a truck, and me and you had been DMing back and forth.
Because I had just got my truck.
Yeah, because you had just gotten yours, and I was like, oh, well, we could do like a comparison because you had a gas and I had a diesel.
Yep. The whole deal.
Same size trucks and everything. So,
well, I just found it super impressive that a 16, 17-year-old kid took time away from school to grow his business and his company. It's just so fascinating today because honestly, like most 16, 17-year-old kids, at best, they're playing sports. At best, they're staying out of trouble. But realistically, so many younger guys nowadays, they just get caught up in stupid stuff. They're wasting time, wasting money. You can still be a kid. I'm not saying that. No. But I know 25-year-olds that still haven't grown up. Age is just a number, Doesn't mean you're more mature.
Yeah, and I think, whatever, makes you happy is great.
Sure.
And for me, it was in business, and it was meeting people and building these connections with our industry and with you, and
for sure,
really all the people around the U.S. I had had met, and so I found that really valuable.
So where's your business at today? So let's fast forward. You've been doing this for about a decade.
Yep.
And so along the way, if you want to bob and weave and maybe fill in some blanks that I know people are going to have as questions, like how did you finance stuff? How did you get money? Like how did you? Is this all daddy's money? That's always a question. Oh,
I get those DMs all the time.
You get that all the time. Most of the time, no. But so why don't you take it away? Where are you at today, and how did you continue to grow and evolve the business over the last 5 to 7 years?
Okay, so today we have about 4 trucks. Well, we do have 4 trucks.
Yeah.
Not about.
Yeah.
So we run 4 trucks. We do lawn care, landscaping, snow removal, and then we also do tree trimming here and there. So
cool.
In the wintertime, we run 4 trucks during the summer. It's that 3 to 4 range, just depending on the job. We mow probably 60 to 70 mowing accounts.
Cool. These are larger accounts, by the way. Most of the lawns.
Yeah, they're over a third of an acre.
Yeah. Over where Nathan's, it gets wide open.
Yeah.
More wide open.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of gates or anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's more wide open mowing.
Acres and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, more acreage mowing.
Yep.
We mow 60 to 70 accounts. We have a full-time, landscaping crew.
Sure.
Which consists of myself and some others, and then my dad also helps out here and there. Besides doing his own job.
Right. And your dad's accounting?
Yes, my dad's in accounting.
That's right, which is very helpful.
Agree completely.
You and I talk about that all the time.
Yep.
I always tell people on the podcast, correct me if I'm wrong, when I tell younger guys, 17, 18, 19, 20, and they're thinking about going to college, they're like, well, I should go for this, I should go for that. I'm like, you should go for 2 things, my opinion, right? Accounting or communication. Because if you're going to be a businessman, you probably want an accounting finance degree. And then number 2, you need to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
And communication. So volunteer for leadership programs and leadership training and communication classes.
Agree.
Like, the ability to sell and communicate will pay more dividends than any other thing that I personally know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you follow your interest, and then also in any interest or any, job, it's really about communications. And I think you effectively communicating is going to put you in the right place always.
I love it. So how did you grow with all this equipment? I mean, elephant in the room. How do you get so I'm hanging out with you at Techo Block. You just bought a $42,000, I think you were saying?
Yeah, something like that.
$40,000 truck. I just, bought a $58,000 truck, and that cleaned me out. And here I have this young man, I was going to call you a kid, but I got this young man here.
Call me a kid.
Oh, whatever, But, well, I treat you like an adult because you're kicking butt. So how do you finance these things? How do you're running a business 16, 17, 18. How do you get insurance?
Yeah.
What you can tell me as much as you want or not as much as you want.
Yeah.
But these are the questions I get the most. I'm always curious how to answer them, especially from somebody who's been there, done that.
Yeah. So when we really got started, I was saving all my money. I really didn't spend any. I didn't have any like sports or anything that I was paying for. Didn't go on any trips. Didn't spend any money on food or clothing. Was really just like dialed in on the business.
Sure. Smart.
Yeah, and like I said, it was all cash. Everything was, paid for. And then, I was probably 17 years old. It was really, I had bought Skag mowers, and the incentive to buy multiple of them was huge. We had, me and my dad had talked about it. They had 0% financing. Sure. It's free money. We were like, okay, we're going to take it. With the business growth and everything that was going on, we thought, this is a good opportunity. Sure. So it really started was, we had the business, filed. They saw our income. And then I had my dad, everyone can say about, daddy's money. Yeah. He had co-signed. None of it was his money. It was just, it was a guaranteed loan.
Totally. Yep.
Which is, you really can't do if, at our age and any age,
nobody's going to give you 10 grand.
Nobody's going to give you 10 grand.
No.
And nobody's going to give you 30 grand.
Not at all. Well, I mean, I had a Christian CNI Services, great kid. Yeah. Same thing. He bought a Bobcat 36-inch stander. Yeah. And his parents like co-signed it. Yeah. But he goes, bro, he's like, I put cash down and then I financed the rest. Like I was paying those payments.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and that's, fortunately my parents have been very gracious in helping with, the co-signing and all that. Yep. Because in this industry and really growing a business, you need capital, and if you can get it cheap or free, take it. So
I love free money.
Yeah, exactly. And again, my dad was a finance guy. He knew our numbers. He knew what was going on. It didn't pose any risk to him to sign the loan. Sure. We paid for it. And again, the incentive to buy that mower, those mowers on fleet was huge.
Well, let me ask you this. One question I get a lot is financing good debt, bad debt. I've done another video or a podcast on good debt, bad debt. Do you find that you shaved off time and years of your business growth by leveraging good debt and having your parents help you out with that? Yeah. And then, I mean, you at 13, 15, 16 years old, right? Let's say you're buying 30 grand worth of mowers. I mean, how long would it have taken you to save $30,000 to take your business to the next level next season? Yeah. A couple years.
So, yeah. And I think it really depends on what, growth strategy you want to have in your business. Sure. For us, I wanted to speed things up. I wanted to grow quickly. Yeah. We had a lot of accounts. We needed new mowers. We needed to improve our efficiency. Right. And the biggest thing for me and my dad and all the guys that work for us is make your job easier. Sure. And spend money now. Right. Because it's going to save your butt later. Yep. So,
and you had the cash flow to boot.
Yeah, and
it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at that. You need to look at your cash flow and really understand how much money you do have. Because a lot of guys get tied up in, well, I made $10,000 or $20,000 in April and May, right? And it's like, yeah, well, what's that in December?
Sure, 100%.
So again, it's like understanding what your cash flow is for the year, understanding what this business, adding this piece of equipment will add to your business. How much more cash can you make when buying this certain piece of equipment? And if it's not that you make more cash, but you can do it faster and easier, then that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a stand-on aerator. We took the same amount of accounts. We might have added 30-40% more accounts, but the bottom line is that I didn't physically kill my body.
Yeah, and aerating's huge. That toll on your body when you have a walk behind aerator.
100%.
You're capped out after 10 lawns, and you don't want to do it for the next 2 weeks.
I used to do 60 a week. I called it Hell Week for about 4 years in the beginning of my business. My friend Brandon, he used to help me do that. He would get off of school at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I'd be like, all right, dude, let's go do 8 more lawns. And he's a big dude, muscular guy, and dude, after about 5 of those, we'd be both popping to a leave at the end of the day.
Yeah, and your body's shot. So
gone.
I think for me and my business and, for everyone's business, it's up to them. I think there's good and bad financing and debt. And, if the rule of thumb, is, if you can keep it under 4%, life is good.
Life is good. I can get a Tesla for $375. Just saying.
Yeah, but can you afford it?
Well, I got the cash flow.
Then there you go.
I got assets that bring in cash flow, bro. I'm right there. Don't make me do it.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. No, so
I'm just messing.
Yeah, I think, it really comes back to, what you want to do in your business.
Right.
Understanding your cash flow, understanding, can I afford this piece of equipment?
Right.
Is it going to grow my business? Is it going to make my life easier?
Well, let me ask you this. Where did you learn this? Dude, you got to stop and slow down to realize what you're even saying. Sometimes you got to have this third world, out of body experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're 19 saying stuff that most 30-year-olds listening to this podcast don't even know. And it's not to put down to 30. I didn't know this until early 20s, 25. So did your dad teach you this, or how did he bring you up in the family, talking about money and finances? Did he sit down and teach you this stuff, or did you just learn this from the internet? How do you have this business mindset at 19? It's very impressive.
Okay, so it is my dad who, he knows a lot about finance, and he would help out with, telling me what we could and can't afford. Mm-hmm. And also it was just looking at our numbers and having mentors in this industry is huge. Mm-hmm. You don't have somebody above you, that can give you advice. You're never going to know, what to buy.
Right.
And I had, Bryant, who was, doing 80 to 100 accounts,
right.
solo, guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about efficiency from him.
Sure.
But then there was another gentleman named Mike, not Bedell, but
right.
a different Mike. And he, had 7 or 8 lawn crews, going out. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of, learning from him on the plowing. I was learning, truck buying. I bought a truck for him.
Okay.
And these are, these connections were huge. And he, Mike was really finance oriented, mm-hmm. and he could, when you leverage debt, you grow.
Sure.
In most cases, unless it's bad debt.
Right.
But yeah, he would kind of, show me why to buy the piece of equipment, and, to pull out the loan or whatever it was, or to pay cash.
Right. Well, for example, you take a plow, right? Like a Boss plow. People are like, well, how much was the plow? I'm like, $7,500. Did you finance that too? I said, no, because plows, you can only finance for 8.99 on 60 or 48 months.
I agree.
It's awful. So there's so what did I do? Paid cash for the plow. But the truck I got for 2.74.
Yep.
And I financed the balance of the 20 that I put down.
Yep.
So it's you got to be smart and figure out interest isn't always
for sure.
Interest isn't always bad. Even if you get a 9% loan, it's not awful if you know what you're doing, but you can be smart.
Pay it off quick.
You got to pay it off quick, right? Most things I always buy, I try to pay off 60 to 90 days. Depending on the cash flow, depends on the conversation with your CPA.
Yeah.
Some things it makes sense to ride it out. Some things it doesn't, right?
Well, and you can play the tax game and everything. And
I've learned so much from that, from Bedell and having qualified CPAs that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not everybody does. Is your dad a background in accounting, or is he also a CPA?
He's a CPA.
Okay, so this mentorship and this perspective probably really helped you out with getting the checkpoints.
Yeah, and I think, when my dad was like, okay, we have this opportunity to do, the financing, and I was like, he kind of came to me. I was more of I want to pay cash for all this stuff.
Sure.
And he was like, well, Nathan, there's this opportunity. There's an incentive to buy cheap, to buy it for cheaper.
Sure.
And there's a tax incentive because, you're doing X amount of dollars and you need to write off.
Mm-hmm. Which is really helpful.
Which is extremely helpful. And then,
did you ever have any moments where you went against your dad? Or were you just you're having a lot of success,
mm-hmm.
and I mean I don't want to say you're batting 1,000 here, but have you ever had any pushback or anything that you did wrong with not listening to your dad that was a learning moment? Or
well, and I think he started the the idea of the finance.
Okay.
And I was like, I understand. I want to think about it. We thought about it.
Right.
And then he was trying to show me how I could do this, and I did. And it worked out really well.
Sure.
Well, then I started to realize the power of a loan and the power of leveraging.
Sure.
And that's when I started pushing him more and more. And it really wasn't he made the final decision or whatever. It was it was just perspective. And
Sure.
it was I could go in and I could look at this piece of equipment and I could realize why I could buy it today and why it would, why would it benefit me.
Sure.
So yeah, I think, to tie that whole question up, it all depends on your business. It depends on who's helping you,
mm-hmm.
because most people don't have the opportunity that I have.
Totally.
And I think that, it's all dependent on what you want to do and how far you want to go.
Well, I did a whole nother a podcast. It's basically good debt versus bad debt. I'm not sure the title at the time of this recording, but talking about my debt story.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I financed $100,000 essentially over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
But I knew I call it financial IQ, right? Like Robert Kiyosaki and all these other people. He always talks about Robert Kiyosaki. Like, people come to me and they say, Robert, I have $10,000. What do I do? And he goes, I don't know. What's your financial IQ? For some of you, the financial IQ is stick it in a savings account or stick it under a mattress, because if you go do something with it, you're probably going to lose it.
Yeah.
Now, you and I, if we had somebody come to us with $10,000, we're not geniuses. We're not Donald Trump Jr. We're not Jeff Bezos. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you and I had a family member bring us 10 grand, we could probably give them some good suggestions.
Yeah. And I think
we can
there's-
multiply that.
Well, and I also think that it comes with perspective, and it also, we've seen opportunity,
Yeah.
and we've taken it, or we haven't taken it, and
Sure.
we've realized, we should have.
100%.
So I think it depends on what you want to do.
Right.
And honestly, I don't think there is one good answer, because it's all based on what you want in your business, and it's all personal.
Yep.
And I don't think there's like any harm in doing either or.
Oh, totally. You got to figure out you.
Yeah, you got to figure out what you want to do, and that's the answer I would say.
Yeah.
And you got to understand who's supporting you, and see what that brings up.
I like it. Well, let's keep going on the lineage and the timeline. So you're now 19.
Yep.
Right. You've been working your butt off.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes. I see on Instagram, and I keep up with you every couple months and stuff. I'm like, hey dude, how you doing? And bought 2 new mowers, bought a truck that. I'm like, all right, cool. Bought a dump trailer, I think, right? Was that you?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I bought that was
That was a while ago.
the carriage before the horses, what my dad would say. At 15 years old. I even owned a car.
I remember you saying that. Yeah, you're like, I bought this. You're like, but I can't drive it. I gotta get my somebody to move it or something. I was laughing. Which is really funny. So where are you at today? Like you said, maybe just a recap of where you're at today, and then what are you trying to do? Where are things going? What are you excited about now that you're 19? Are you in college, by the way?
Yeah. So I'm at MSU studying horticulture, landscape, and nursery management.
Wow.
Which
awesome.
we can go into that a little bit more, because there's a lot with that.
Yeah.
So the business at today, like I said, we're running 4 trucks. We do snow plowing, our mowing. Like I said, it's what is this, March almost?
Yeah.
So we're not really sure exactly where we're going to be.
Right.
I would say somewhere between 70 and 90 mowing accounts.
Cool.
And
that's probably your pay the bill money, but then you like your landscaping too.
Yeah, and the landscaping also is it's a full-time gig with
Sure.
a couple of guys.
Sure.
So I don't know what this year will bring. I mean, it could be 5-7 guys.
Right.
We're just gonna see how it goes.
Yeah.
Again, the snow plowing it's been huge.
Sure.
Even though we don't have a lot of snow, it's been a lot of accounts.
It's been a light winter.
Yeah, it's been a very light winter.
Profitable for you though, because as I say that, you're smiling ear to ear. So,
Yeah, no. When you get contracts, it's life is good.
100%. Well, I mean, again, let's do this. Let's talk about college for 4 or 5 minutes, and then I want to have you talk about age, like being 19. Like imagine a lot of guys listening to this are 16 to 25.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of pushback. Do I have the money? Do I have the know-how? Do I have the ambition? Everybody's screaming at them to go get a traditional job or go to college, or maybe they went to college and they're like, I don't want to be a purchasing agent at IBM.
Yeah.
So how are you approaching college, and then any advice for the 18 to 25-year-old crowd as they go and do what you're trying to do?
For sure. So, I'm at MSU, Michigan State.
Go green.
Yeah, go green.
Yep.
Go white. Yep. So I'm studying landscape and nursery management. Started last fall. Really, was trying to grow the business by learning, horticultural techniques, landscape design, plant ID, all that stuff.
Cool.
And so the fall semester was good. But I also realized that there's a lot going on in my business, and there's a lot going on, in my life.
Sure.
I had a lot of life events, last fall, and it was like, I was trying to pull back and understand where I was at. So, MSU's been a huge avenue for growth, a huge avenue for making connections with those, people who are entering the workforce and trying to understand what, it looks like. So again, I think it was really good. Is
it like a 2-year program, 4-year program?
So it's a 2-year certification program.
Okay.
It's 48 credits, and all you do is focus on landscape.
Cool.
Landscape design, plant ID, nursery management, design build, everything that you can think of pertaining to landscaping, they do.
Wow.
And it's a really cool program. For me as a business owner, it's been really tough also because of, my work schedule and all that. So I really would recommend it for anybody who's getting started in this industry. And that's an advice for the 18 to 25-year-old.
Totally.
If you're getting started and you want to know and become knowledgeable of this whole trade,
right,
going to MSU, doing this 2-year program,
sure,
you live at home or wherever you're at,
Right.
they do a travel program. It's across the whole state of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
They do it at all their extension locations.
Well, it's funny because I had Bedell on here just a few episodes before, and I was asking Bedell because I get that question a lot, from younger guys. Should I go to college or should I not? And I'm like, well, where are you at? And they're like, well, last year I did $200,000. I'm 19. I'm like, I don't know how, like, do you know how to build retaining walls? Oh, we just did this $13,000 install. I'm like, okay, well, what about, your hardscaping and plantscape, plant business and landscaping? Like, oh, I just did this, and this. And I know all like the, all the Latin words for everything. And I'm like, well,
then what do you need?
Right.
Are you really good at your landscapes? Are you really good at knowing plants?
Yes.
That's great. That's really a good foundation to go off of.
Right.
But also, do you know business? Do you know marketing? Do you know
Totally.
Finance? Back to that whole thing of like,
Yes.
what to go into.
Right.
And I think we all have room for growth. Obviously, for me at MSU, it's been a good experience, but it's also like I'm more business oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm taking now,
Yeah.
and the decision I made this past spring, maybe I'm not going to finish the program,
Right.
or if I do, it'll take me longer than 2 years.
Okay, sure.
But it's really like I'm taking the classes
Right.
that apply.
Well, so here's the deal. Here's what I call it. I call it front of the house and back of the house, right? Like imagine a rowboat. There's
Yeah.
2 oars in the water.
Yeah.
Well, you can be a great businessman,
Yeah.
but a horrible like lawn care guy, a landscaping guy, and do a poor job. But
Yeah.
you can be a decent, mow grass guy, landscaping guy, be an ultra good businessman and make a killing.
Yeah.
So you got to have like
It's a balance.
front of the house, back of the house.
Yeah, for sure. And so if people ask that question, I get that asked, every once in a while when I was really on social media, was like,
Right.
oh, what is your college plan? Are you going to college?
Sure.
Should we go to college?
Sure.
And really, I think, everyone, if they have the financial ability, go to college. Don't go for the degree.
Right.
Go for the education.
Right.
And if you take the classes that you see apply and you're halfway through and you see a hope, a light or a light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
and you want to keep going, go for it. But
Right.
if you seem, like you've had all the experiences that you wanted from college, you've taken all the classes that you see apply,
Sure.
you don't need the degree.
Right. So don't go to college just to go to college.
No, go to college because you want to know the educational side and don't worry about the degree.
See, it's
completely
so-
take the degree out of it.
So here's the deal, bro. Like you're 19, you're living in social media world. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like you're 19. You got TikTok, you got Gary V's, you got the Instagram, right? Like this is your world the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
This is new to the 30-year-old crowd. Like I'm learning, but this is what you grew up on.
Yeah.
And it's coming from the horse's mouth of a 19-year-old kid that you don't always have to go to college to be successful. Like check out this perspective, bro. When I was 30, and I've said this on a couple different podcasts, when I was 18 years old, graduating high school, if I told my career counselor or guidance counselor,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not going to go to college, like they didn't say this, I always joke, but it was basically implied that if you don't go to college, you're going to be a loser.
Yeah, well, that's still today. I just think it's you decide whether or not you want to accept it.
Do you still get that conversation in college or high school?
In high school, that was a huge conversation.
Really?
From our guidance counselors, from our
Still?
teachers. Oh, it's
Still
huge.
today.
Still today. And
Unbelievable.
for anybody who is in high school,
Yeah.
you do what's right for you. Don't listen to the kids in your class. If you're a senior or whatever,
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Should I have gone to college? I don't know.
Right.
I went and I've taken the classes that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
But your senior year, all of the leading up to your graduation, it's college.
Totally.
No,
Yeah.
don't listen to any of that. Listen to what's right for you.
Would you encourage, or like one thing I really like that Gary Vee says, which I think is huge, is tasting. Like like he talks about like wine tasting.
Yeah.
But like tasting careers. So
Yeah.
like go serve tables for 3 months. Go try the business world for 3 months. Go try this go be an artist for 3 months.
Well, and that's
you
that's
decide
a
on
thing.
who
and
you are.
And I listened to a little bit of Gary Vee stuff because I think
Yeah.
he's a very educated guy when it comes to social media and career and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what I would say, if you're 19, 20, I don't even care. You're under 30.
Yeah.
You're still young. If
Totally.
you don't have a business already
Mm-hmm.
and you want to go, understand the world, go try a couple different careers.
Right.
Go do that, the busing. Go do the, working for, a SCAG dealership or whatever.
Sure.
Go and get yourself involved. Try a couple different things out, and then see what what you like.
Find your passion.
Find your passion. Then, if you need to go to college, great.
Right.
But odds are you probably don't.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, bro. Like you can totally relate. Like, okay, so let me ask you this. It's so funny, like having a Michigan boy in here because I tell these stories to other people outside of the country or outside of the state, of Michigan, and they don't get it. But like here in Michigan, it's literally, hey, what college are you going to, and then what automotive company do you plan to work at? Like it's like if you get out of high school and you don't say Michigan State, University of Michigan, OU, Central, Central, Western,
Grand Valley, all those.
GVSU. Yeah, if you don't say that, you're okay. So you're going to be a trash collector, and I'm like, no. And then it's basically like if you don't go to college and work for the big three, or maybe U of M healthcare system, right? Like if you don't work for those environments, you're going to be a joke. And I'm thinking to myself like, what about being an entrepreneur? What about being self-employed? Like those weren't even presented options.
And I think that, maybe it isn't as much as common now about the 3 big companies or whatever in Michigan.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that I've seen that before. And I think, I don't know if entrepreneurship, I would say, is for everyone.
I don't think it is.
I think it's for select crowd.
Sure.
And if you don't have the will,
you're
not going to make it through.
Dude, I was a square peg round hole.
Yeah.
Like I had a 3.9 GPA in 6th grade, 7th grade, like 8th grade it was like 3.7.
Mm-hmm.
High school, what is that, grade 9?
Yeah.
I go from a 3.3 to like a 3.1 to like a 2.7. I think I got out like at a 2.2 because I just realized the scam. Like I just knew I wasn't going to go to college. I just realized I didn't want to do any of this. And I'm like, I just let me out. Like I was already cutting grass. I was already working. I already found things that I was enjoying. So
and I think it pulls it back to the whole entire thing. Should you start a business? Should you go to college? Should you do, any of those questions that you get asked all the time, it's really like, ask yourself, like, what do you want?
Right.
What is like your future? If you want to be a millionaire, by the time you're 25,
right.
This isn't being an entrepreneur is not a good choice. And everyone can, they ask me these questions of like, well, where are you today? Like, how did you get so big? Mm-hmm. I've been doing it for 10 years.
Right.
I didn't start when I was 15. I started, when I was 9.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that I'm hot, but I'm saying is like, I've worked.
You already got a decade in.
I've got a decade in.
Right.
And I applaud the guys that are getting started. I applaud the guys that, have been doing it for 20, 30 years.
Totally.
They know what they're doing. Everyone's got to take the path that's right for them.
Right.
And, I think the questions that I get asked about, where are you today? Why did you get so big? Being patient is huge.
Right.
Being patient, understanding your market, talking to people, building those connections with the industry, building the connections with, the people around you.
Right.
It really goes a long way.
100%.
And that's just like the fact of it. And everyone, they continue these questions of like, where are you, how do we get today? But my one piece of advice for everyone who's getting started or, has been in it for 5-10 years that are, trying to grow their business.
Sure.
Being patient is huge.
Wow.
Deciding what you want to do. Well, deciding your passions.
I think it's pretty tough at your age to say that.
Well, because it's...
Or to hear that.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants everything yesterday.
Yeah, everyone wants everything yesterday. Everyone wants to make $1 million.
Right.
Well, the reality is it's not that easy.
No, well, dude, it's so funny. Like the older I get and the more money I make and the older I get, the more I really respect the guy above me. Like,
I agree.
If I'm like, I'm 33 and we make what we make, and then there's a guy who's 33 making triple that, or the guy that's 40 and making 10x that. I'm just like, man, like people in this country right now have a really nasty sentiment against capitalism and people succeeding, which I just find, just distasteful. It's awful. Like you have no idea, like the blood, sweat, and tears that guy sacrificed.
Well, and I think that's another thing that you have to consider, and then people start asking about like, well, I want to make X amount of dollars.
Right.
Well, that's great. Right. Good for you. But also like, put into perspective. Understand like where you need to be in business.
Sure.
Is that really where you want to go?
Totally.
Do you want to have? And I think it was a video you posted recently, and it was like a guy who's doing, I was just trying to catch up on your content, and it was like a guy who was doing, I don't know, $20 million, whatever it was, the landscaping company.
Oh yeah, Troy Clark.
Yeah, Troy.
Yeah, the big guy.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like, and what he said was perfect.
Yeah.
And then what I've talked to and everybody in the industry, and even where I'm at today, and from the advice I've gotten, you pick your battles and you pick where you're going.
Right.
And just because you're not in the field doesn't mean your life is any easier.
Right.
And it's, it really pulls it back to like where you want to be. You want to be the one guy, one man show. Good for you.
Yep.
You can make that, whatever you make. You want to, be the guy that has 10 crews?
Yeah.
Happy for you. You want to be the $100 million company?
Sure.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's all on what you want, what your passions are, and where you find happiness.
It's so good to hear you say that at 19. Like it really is. Like I'm saying this as like the 33-year-old old fart here, but it's good that you have perspective for you because, about 2 years ago doing YouTube, I totally felt inadequate, dude, with where my business was at. Like we were doing 100 grand and people were like, oh, like you get 6 trucks and 6 crews and it was always 8 or 6 or something. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, bro, like my net profit is this, my income is that. I work way less than sometimes people think. I'm like, I'm really happy with my business, and I didn't get caught up in that. I'm really thankful. Somebody asked me at a panel we did at GIE last, this is about 4 or 5 months ago. They're like, what's one thing that you wish you would have done different? And I'm like, you know what? For the one time in my life, I can say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with everything I did do and didn't listen to. If that makes sense.
That's something that you chose, and whether, again, if you had 10 crews and you're happy,
right,
and you're working whatever hours you had to, and you that's good for you,
right.
And for me, I want to grow my company,
right.
And wherever I end up, I'm not going over the top. I'm going to where I'm happy,
sure,
not to where the money number is, because
right.
each year everyone sets these goals of like, oh, I want to do 200,000, I want to do 400,000, I want
100 more accounts.
I want 100 more accounts. Does that really matter?
Right. Why?
Isn't the next dollar really going to make you any more happier than you are at today?
Right.
Obviously, we all have goals and we all have things that we want to achieve.
Sure.
And I do too, and I think it's great. It puts you in a mindset where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But don't put the dollar amount.
Right.
Be happy with the process. Enjoy the grind. Enjoy the the people that you meet. Don't go for the dollar.
Yeah.
Because once you're there, it's not it.
Well, here's my biggest piece of advice on this part is figure out how you want to live and work backwards.
Yeah.
Because it does come down to a dollar point to sustain a lifestyle.
Agreed.
But figure out the lifestyle first. The answer is don't go through the spectrum of that equation from one way to the other. Figure out what the end goal and work backwards. And then you know how many trucks, right? Then you know how many crews. Then you know how many people. Then you know how many revenue goals.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it is, understand what lifestyle you want to live.
Yeah.
But don't get caught up in, when I get the next F-350 or when I get the next new truck, I'm going to be happy.
No.
Because coming from somebody who, I bought a 2017 F-250.
Right.
And I'm not here to brag about it. I thought it was going to be great.
Yeah.
Ask me 6 months after I bought it how I felt. I didn't care.
Don't even care about it, bro.
It's not a big deal. It's the trucks and everyone, obviously it's goals and you achieve your goals and that's great. But once you're there, it's not that great.
I try to measure sometimes people forget to measure happiness. Sometimes people forget to measure relationships and your people. And great gem that Troy said in that video. If you guys haven't watched the YouTube video, we did a walkthrough with one of the largest, I don't even know if he's regional, but like national, but he's a massive regional player with where I live, Troy Clogg Associates. A lot of guys know Troy Clogg, highly respected individual in the industry, been doing it for 40 years. And he said a couple things, man, take care of your people. Make sure that they get paid top dollar, and that's what it's all about. Equipment comes and goes, customers come and go, but you got to take care of your people. And then to piggyback off what we said earlier, he said, whatever level you're at, be happy. If you're happy as one guy, one crew, awesome. He goes, if you're happy at a different plateau, awesome. But don't just keep chasing growth for the sake of growth. That is
don't chase the dollar amount. Don't chase the next truck. Yeah, chase the happiness.
Totally.
Chase the lifestyle you want to live.
Well, dude, this is it's so weird, like hearing your voice. I'm sorry. I'm sure. I swear to God, bro. Some people are listening to this right now and they go, "Are you sure this kid's 19 or is he 34?" Because you have a good head on your shoulders, and I'm really proud of you.
It puts you, when you've been doing it for 10 years or you've seen guys go through it.
Sure.
You understand, at a young age when you start buying stuff and you start having cash, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
I'm surprised you haven't made any stupid purchases yet. Your dad must be a very good coach.
Well, and I continue just to
yes, sir.
I double check it. No, yeah, whatever.
No, you're kind of at that age now where you can make your own choices and
I think that's what he's kind of allowed is
yeah.
He'd be like, okay, Nathan, you want to buy this piece of equipment? Great.
Sure.
Now show me why you can afford that,
right.
or why you should buy this piece of equipment.
Super good.
And it was freedom.
Yeah.
But it was freedom with you had to explain
checks
yourself.
And balances.
Yeah, checks and balances, and that's what everyone needs to.
We got to do a part 2 of this with your dad.
Yeah, we got to bring him in.
We got to interview with parent of multi-millionaire mogul lawn care landscaper at 25 years old, right? So, well, let's do this. Let's change it up. Let's break it up. I want to talk to you about social media, marketing, just so many different things that we were highlighting on before we hit record that I think can help a lot of folks. Because you got a really unique perspective of social media. In fact, you had been watching YouTube, which for 10, 12 years now? Literally since 05, 06, 07?
Yeah, it was back in the day when everyone was just getting started. I was
it's fascinating.
Trying to understand the lawn business. And it was probably before I even started mowing. I feel like I was watching guys.
Wow. So today, you wouldn't be able to even watch YouTube because of all the CAPA stuff. You wouldn't even be able to watch half of the stuff on YouTube because you weren't even 13 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you're 9, 10 years old with an iPad, one of those kids, and learning all this stuff about the industry.
Yeah, I was fully like involved in trying to educate myself through.
Yeah.
You know, like there was like Greg Chisholm, and there was all these guys that like were just getting started, like you.
Wow.
I mean, I remember you having 100 subscribers or whatever it was.
Dude,
I think it was because you were doing a giveaway, and I was like, wow, this guy's doing a giveaway at 100 subscribers.
I was big time, man.
Yeah, you were going at after it, and it was great.
I've been bribing people for 5 years to grow my channel. So,
Yeah.
hey, if you hit the subscribe button, we'll give you a free, monster truck.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Well, and it worked out well for you, and you've done very well. So,
well, I don't know about that. We're humble. We're having fun, but let's do this. Let's take a quick sip of water. We'll hit the ads, and then we'll come right on back into it.
We want to thank the lawn and landscape community for making GIE Plus Expo their place to reunite as an industry. Like a family reunion, thousands of dealers, landscape pros, and contractors return annually to network, share ideas, learn best practices, and make new friends. It all starts Wednesday, October 21st with the opening reception and continues into the night with free concerts in downtown Louisville. At the show, you'll have the opportunity to share experiences and brainstorm new approaches to your business challenges with friends and like-minded professionals. You don't want to miss the opening keynote, Secrets of Being an Effective Leader, presented by retired Navy 4-star Admiral James Stavridis. Register now at GIE-expo.com, and we'll see you October 21st through the 23rd in Louisville.
So here's the deal. Social media. It's not going to be the same typical social media talk that you guys have heard on other podcast episodes that we've done. Mm-hmm. You're again, you're 19. You're kind of a byproduct of social media too, like your business. Like you have your dad giving you input. Of course, you're doing your own research and stuff like that. But it's really
a lot of mentors.
A lot of mentors, a lot of good help and networking. But then you got this like YouTube spinning plate, right? That's always been behind the scenes, and
all of the social media is Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, it's just
YouTube. Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like I keep seeing so many like kids like you, I call them kids, like 17 to 20 year olds.
Yep.
60, 70, 80, 100 grand. And I'm thinking I didn't even hit that till like 28, 29, 30. And I'm thinking to myself, how? And it's like, it's not always just like, the why and the motivation and the hard work, because you got that spunk when you're young.
Yeah.
But you got to learn some how-tos.
Yeah.
And so you are really in this interesting position because you had been watching this stuff not at 20, 25.
No.
It's one thing if you have and you are like my age, but you were watching stuff at 9, 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
How did you, okay, super simple question. How did you find lawn care on YouTube? Like, did a video get promoted to you or what happened?
So really what it was is I didn't have a Google account because my parents didn't let me have an email until I don't know what age.
Smart.
They were kind of like shielding me from the
interwebs.
World. Yeah, from the interweb.
Which is fine.
Which is good because I probably needed that.
Sure.
Yeah, so I really got, involved in trying to understand lawn care, landscaping, snow removal. I would look up, keywords, lawn care setups. I remember lawn care setup 2012 or all these
those are the best.
Those were the best, and they were so like organic, and it was like trying to understand why they ran the setups they did, and that really influenced where I was at because it was like I remember it was like somebody who was like 12 or 13 posted a video on their setup, and I had a very similar like mower and like trimmers, and then I was like, man, I really need to get like a little cart or something. And I remember like finding a kid, and he like made all this stuff, and I'm like, that's exactly what I need.
Yeah. It's so cool.
It was really cool because it was like I was learning from these guys.
Right.
I was finding out what works, what it doesn't work. And it's funny now because it's like you see guys and they have these setups, and it's like that's not going to work in 5 years. Or like because like you realize stuff, and like
I like seeing the evolution.
The evolution of like your business and everything. And Brian and Mike, my mentors, and they were like, I had all this equipment, or like I was trying to buy a piece of equipment, and they'd be like, hey Nate, like don't buy that. Right. It's not going to work for you in a year.
Totally.
And it was like, that's how I got it early on, because I was like learning from like 12-year-olds, same age as me.
Yeah.
Or it was like, people like you or Stan or whatever.
Right.
And it was just like kind of understanding where they were at.
So you're watching mower review videos?
It wasn't review videos.
Okay, not yet.
It was really...
There wasn't really much review video back then.
No, it was like I remember Greg's like daily vlogs.
Yeah, Greg Chisholm.
He was like the OG of like the 100%. Daily vlog on the lawn care side, and he was determined, and he like... I just remember like
his two little like recyclers, and
he had like his little Troy builds. And he had his Ferris, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Again, I was like 10 or 11 years old. I'm like, okay, like I need to do this. I need to learn how to route myself. And he taught me about that. People like you had these trucks and trailers and whatever. And it was like, okay, like cool. Like I need to run my stuff, stuff like that.
Sure.
And so like, it really was like, again, it was like seeing other companies understanding the way they set up the stuff they did.
Right.
And that's what I went off of. And it wasn't like any, like, I didn't really do the review stuff. I didn't listen to that stuff.
Right.
Because it was really, that's regional base.
Sure.
On what mowers work in what regions.
I totally agree.
And so I would go more towards like my dealers, my friends who like mowed lawns, and I'd be like, hey, like how'd that Exmark work? Or like how'd that Skag work?
Right.
And that's why we run the, the mowers we do, because
Sure.
it was just like asking people in our area, like, oh, who's a good dealer? What is a good product?
So what was your, what did you consume? What did you like? Did you like the story of like people developing and changing and like making money? Like, I still don't know why I watched Greg. Like, I don't think anybody does. It was just whimsically magical. Like, it was just, you were in a trance, bro. 40 minutes later, I'm watching him pick up gumballs and like complain about his wheels falling off. And he's like, let's go change a wheel. And I'm like, 40 minutes later, he's in his living room just talking about life and business. And I'm like, who is this guy?
Well, and I think that was like a huge thing with like Keith and like you and I'm trying to think who else was really like, they were like original. Oh, it was like Top Notch.
Yeah.
It was like these guys, and they were coming in and they were just putting out original content, just them and their life.
Yep.
And that's what you would bring followers, and that would bring people in the industry to listen to them, because it's like you're
keeping
just
up with them.
Yeah, you're keeping up with them. You're understanding why they're running their business.
Sure.
You're understanding like the struggles they're going through, and that original content where it's not, scripted, edited,
Highly
actor
edited.
based,
Yep. These characters,
like that's why, certain guys do really well in this, environment, because it's original, it's real.
Right.
It's like me and you are having a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Yeah.
It's not you're acting, which, sometimes you do.
I have to act, man. People
gotta act sometimes.
I'm an actor, bro.
I'm an actor.
Welcome
really,
to the channel.
Surprised he actually doesn't mow lawns.
Yeah. Right. Everything here is complete, actor life.
Yeah. He just, sponsor based,
Yeah.
But no, I think it really comes back to that, like, why we buy certain things we do is because of our friends. It's this whole, now I can't think of the word, but it's word of mouth. Word of mouth is really what it is.
Sure.
People like Jobber and people like, Skag and all these other, companies, they're working with you, or they're working with people who, post all this stuff that is original, because it's like, it's reaching a broader audience.
Sure.
And it's, it's real stuff.
Right.
It's not acted. It's not, buy our product today or buy this service today.
Right.
It comes back to just like, oh, you're a guy who mows lawns.
Just like you.
Just like me.
Right.
And you like this product, therefore maybe I would.
Totally. Well, so in my perspective, right, and I want you to talk about more like going to the Echo UAG thing, because that was such a turning point of like influencer marketing, which I hate terms like that, like influencer.
Well, and that's what it is it's this influencer marketing, but really it comes back to word of mouth.
Totally.
And that's why our industry does very well with word of mouth marketing, and people like, all these, I'm looking at your board over here. You got Truckmate, you got, Gravely, and Jobber, and all these companies. And they do really well with influencer marketing and word of mouth.
Right. So when I got started on YouTube, it was 2016. Like March 16. And here's the deal, dude. It was just, I got started to make review videos.
Yeah.
People are like, Brian, a lot of your videos are how-tos and review videos. I go, look at the first one there, genius. Like the first one was a review video. Well, I got started doing reviews because nobody was reviewing Xmark. Nobody was reviewing Red Max.
Yeah, they were doing, and that's why you've done very well.
Yeah.
Is because you're a face that's recognizable. You're a face that's, people feel like they can trust.
Sure, I hope
and so you come out here and you say, oh, hi, my name's Brian, or whatever, and I'm reviewing this piece of equipment that I've run for the last 10 years.
Right.
This Skag mower works very well in these certain conditions.
Sure.
It doesn't work well in these.
Yes.
You buy it if you want.
Yes.
That's what does well. And that's what and we can kind of merge into this whole thing of like the Echo thing. It was like, Echo was trying to rebrand themselves.
Right.
Which is good, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And they were like, okay, well, let's bring in people who are in the industry.
Contractors,
people like me and you.
Yep.
And I was the young kid, and I was able to reach the younger audience.
Yeah.
You were the older guy who had a single, crew. You were, you're relatable to a lot of people.
Yeah. I think they brought me in because literally if I could do it, anybody else could do it.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So like, I'm just being honest. Now you're 19, you're kicking butt, doing, just crushing the game. I think back then I was the give everybody hope and belief guy. Like if this guy can do it, anybody can do it.
You were giving advice, and you were giving hope for people who maybe have just been getting into it. So
I call it documenting my story.
Well, that's true.
It's kind of getting overly used now, but like, bro, like even to this day, I'm not like as like Gary Vee says, pontificating or preaching. I'm not trying to teach you guys how to do anything like that I haven't done. Like if I haven't done it, I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's reasons why I'm not teaching you guys how to bid a 232 unit condo complex, and it's a $200,000 account. I don't do that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking to you guys about how to bid simple stuff. Like if I haven't done it, I'm not going to talk about it. And so,
and you're going out there and you're saying, okay, well, I bid it this way,
totally,
because this is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, good, bad, or ugly.
And yeah, it could be good or bad. And you might find out in 5 years that wow, I was really underbidding stuff.
For 3 years, I had everybody say raise your prices, and I'm like, my prices are good. And then I realize I learned my worth. I know my worth. I learned from other guys in the industry, dude. I learned from 17-year-old kids to 50-year-old guys,
Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 years.
Hello.
30 years, yeah.
I mean, so like it's a lot of people use the word ego death. And so like I had to get pruned, bro. Like I'm so thankful that YouTube is a two-way street, Yeah. And so, okay, so let's keep it going. So we're talking social media, YouTube. You're talking about watching some of the first guys.
Yeah.
And all this has helped you grow your company over the last decade.
Yeah.
So you're like, this social media stuff is interwoven into your story, right?
Yeah.
So what happened about a year and a half ago? Because I got to connect with you again probably about a month ago, and I noticed everything was different. Like your feed's gone, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're shifting gears in your business, and then boom, out of nowhere, you come back on the scene, and I'm like, what is this Foxscape thing? Like it's professional, it's cleaner, it's more contractor. It looks like you're a regional player.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to talk about your perspective and your prerogative to do that, and then maybe what you're trying to accomplish by doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So I can go into that. So, a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was like, you see all these guys who are buying trucks and are buying this equipment, and like, we all like, we strive for that. And then it's like, you just get caught up in it.
In the
hype. And it's like, oh yeah, keep going. It's like,
right.
So, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was just like, okay, I'm done. This is a time for me to just grind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people need that.
Right.
Stop looking at everyone else's feed.
Yep.
Stop looking at, what everybody else has. It's good and bad.
Right.
There's a good point where it's like you're using it constructively to understand what works well and what doesn't.
Sure.
And then there's a point at which it's like jealousy and you don't move anywhere.
Totally.
And so for me, it was at a point where I wasn't getting anything constructive out of it.
Okay.
And I was wasting time, and everyone has that, the time tracker on their phone.
Right.
And you're seeing like 2-3 hours on Instagram. It's like, what did I gain?
What? Yeah.
What did I learn from this?
Sure.
And YouTube and all that.
100%.
And it was like, okay, well, this is a time for a break.
Right.
And so I took a break and I just grinded. A lot of stuff didn't come out in the last 2 years. It was kind of me quiet, understanding, what I wanted.
Right.
And I didn't, maybe I talked myself up before, and I was like, trying to catch up to where I was at.
Sure. Sure.
Because we all struggle. Yeah, sure.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, we want to all, talk and, try to promote ourselves really well. And yeah, sure, like, yeah, we want to have all that.
Right.
And we might have it for a week.
Right.
We might have 2 crews going out for a week. And then we say, oh, well, now we have 2 crews.
Right.
Well, in reality, you're still busting butt mowing lawns, and you're over there, mowing, landscaping. You have 4 or 5 guys.
Yep.
Everyone's doing everything.
Yep.
And that was what I was last year. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'm done with the social media. I talked myself up. Now I got to start working myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, I kind of took a break.
Thou shalt not fooleth thyself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I was just like, I need to be more humble. I need to more, just put my head down and grind. And I think that's something that I realized because I was watching some of Gary's stuff, and I was, listening to some of his podcasts, and I was like, I know I'm like doing well,
right,
but I'm comparing.
Sure.
And I didn't want that. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to leave and I'm going to come back later. And I told my marketing guy who had worked for us, for over a year designing and doing stuff and making stuff for us. And I just said, hey, Brian, this is a time in my life where I need to just sit down and grind, and I don't need any more accounts. I don't need any more marketing, so I'm just going to sit down and just get this done.
Right.
And I grew a lot from that, and I grew a lot from word of mouth.
Yeah.
I realized what the power of word of mouth is. We didn't have a logo on our truck. We didn't advertise at all.
Okay.
So then I rebranded this past month, and that was like a 2-month process. That was huge.
Yeah.
And so we sat down and we kind of talked about like what's going to work and what won't,
Right.
For our business. So, when was it? January. Me and Brian sat down and we were like, what do we want out of this? What's our mission?
Sure.
And it took me, a month. And I have guys text me now and they're like, oh, I want to rebrand. I want to, do this tomorrow.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you got to like slow it down.
Right. Why?
Right. Bring it back to why you want to rebrand.
Was this like this esoteric conversation you had with yourself or with your dad, or just like you're just like, well, like what's my vision? What's my mission statement? Like what's our core values? Like was it that grandiose, or was it just like, I don't want to look like not that you were the neighborhood kid, because I don't think you really ever started that phase that I've known you. But you had a good branding on. So what was the reason behind the?
Yeah, so it really came back to, and Brian, who is our marketing guy and a great friend of mine, he was like, Nathan, you need to take 2 weeks and you need to understand your mission.
Sure.
Pull it back to like what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll work off that.
Cool.
And so, he went off to college for 2 weeks, came back and he said, Nathan, where are we at?
Yeah.
And I said, all right, this is the point. So we want to build connections, invest in other people, and build connections with our community and put a better quality service out.
Sure.
And that was kind of like the whole essence. And, we sat down and we kind of made these mission statements and, we kind of came up with these ideas and all this. And so then it was like, okay, well, now what are the actions we're going to take?
Sure.
Are we changing names? Does it make sense? Well, yeah.
Different identity.
We wanted to change identity. And it was like, okay, well, how are we going to do that effectively? And it was through a rebrand. It was through a new name. And it's a tough project.
Totally. I know.
I know. If people want to do it, great, but also understand there's a lot of work behind it. There's been 2 months of, phone calls and emails and paper filing and and it was really good. And I think I think I pulled back to really it was investing in people. Like that's like one of my biggest statements.
Sure.
And I think it just comes down to like, how are we going to treat our employees? How are we going to treat our community? How are we going to treat this community of, business to business?
Right. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Unscripted. Can I ask you a question? Do you feel like it's a rebranding of you?
A rebranding of myself?
Of you. Your business is an extension of you.
I think it is somewhat, but I also think...
You said you kind of recluse for like 12, 18 months. Was it because you felt like you were becoming a runaway freight train and you had to kind of look inward and
I think that would
hit true north here?
Yeah, I think that would pull back to what it was a rebranding of myself, and it was a rebranding of
who's Nathan Fox.
Yeah, who's Nathan Fox and who is formerly Four Seasons.
Yeah. You're not this 16, 17-year-old kid just chasing $100,000 a year gross business anymore.
Yeah.
You've been there, done that. Now you're like, well, I'm Nathan. I'm 19. I'm growing up,
where can I be with this? And where can where can I add value to people who,
part of the community?
Because this community has been fun. And this community,
your physical community even.
In that community also. And I think, we started that with Four Seasons, my junior year of high school. It was like, we want to invest in community and, and we tried it and we just got so busy and it was like life got busy and, obviously that happens all the time. And we were almost, I didn't have the infrastructure behind the business.
Sure.
To support not only the new accounts, but like, I didn't know exactly what I was doing completely. And I don't either now, but
you also get a pass because you were 16.
Yeah. I think it pulls it back to this, well, the rebranding is really about that whole investing in other people and the media you're seeing today and the media you're going to see over the next, years to come.
Sure.
Is really that whole entire thing. We're going to be pushing more and more, not only content for our B2B, how to effectively communicate to your customers.
Sure.
At 16, 17 years old. It's tough.
Right.
Or, how to manage your money. You asked me that question earlier, like how to, how to save your money, what you should be doing with your finances, and that's kind of like part of Four Seasons Foxscapes is like this whole rebranding is about like, okay, we're not only going to help businesses and, kids who are getting started, but we're going to also tie back to our customers.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, well, like, what do our customers need to know?
Right.
Well, they don't know how to trim a tree. They don't know what's the best horticultural practice for planting trees. They don't know how to trim bushes. They don't know what like proper mowing height. And so more and more commonly what you're going to see through this new company, rebranding is these missions and like these, this type of content coming out of all of like how we can support the people who support us.
Big value add.
Adding value to people. And that's how you market yourself, and that's how you grow.
Totally. That's how you create loyal customers. You've said that just through this whole process, you have so much. You're finding a lot of traction on social media. Now, I don't mean like building friendships like with other lawn care business owners on Instagram. I mean like you're getting actual physical customers. Like you've gotten 3 or 4 new customers in the last like 3 weeks because of this new identity.
Agreed. And I think what it really it's not only the identity; it's the way we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of people need to understand and realize with their business is like,
sure,
okay, it's not 1970 anymore where you can go on TV and say, buy my product today.
Right.
Because it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
People don't believe in they don't buy your products because you push them. They buy them because they believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
well, I'll give you one that I like is that I feel when you value add, and then you make something available.
Yeah.
I think people want to reciprocate.
Agreed.
And so when you're giving into your community, you sponsor the local fireworks.
Yep.
Cost you $3,500. Maybe you're one of 5 sponsors that covered the 20 grand, right?
Yeah.
But then Foxscapes MI is part of the Oakham's Lansing, whatever you guys do.
Yeah.
Fireworks show. People are gonna go, wow, like that guy really does care about the community.
Yeah. Or it's like some social event where you're helping kids with like disabilities, or you're doing stuff with the trick or treating. We did that one year, and the response is huge. And I think also like it comes down to effectively communicating yourself and communicating your company and the values that you believe.
Well, I always believe your business is an extension of you.
Yeah.
I think your calendar personally is an extension of your priorities.
Yeah.
If you didn't hear what I just said, you got to slow down to listen to what I just said because that's a mega nugget. Your calendar is an extension of your priorities. So you're like, oh, I love my brother. I love my sister. I love my brother, sister-in-law, whoever. I love my mom. I love my dad. Oh, I love this. I love that. I love my church. Well, how many times are they showing up on your calendar?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. About 18 months ago, I had a personal priority change, and I, quote unquote, rebranded a priority because none of my family was showing up on my calendar, and I was go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Right. The last 6 months, I've reprioritized my branding of spending time with my wife.
Yeah.
I had to put my wife back at top. And for 24 months, probably was on 3 or 4 on the pecking order. So here's the deal. My business, I know I can totally relate with you. This is why this is a really good conversation to me.
Yeah.
Is that I was I wouldn't self-describe this 4 or 5 years ago, but looking back on it, I was the low ball, low IQ, not like low IQ, but low ball, low education, not a lot of value add to my clients. I was just the $20 mo guy.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. So I rebranded my truck, my trailer, my branding, my logo, everything.
Yeah.
And so the first 10 years, it was Brand's Lawn Maintenance 1.0, I call it. When I got on YouTube and I had that red F-150 and my utility trailer, that was like Brand's Lawn Maintenance 2.0. But how many, if you guys ever listen to this, and you're like, well, I just can't, get good clients, or there's so many guys out there cutting for $20, $25 and they're taking my clients and I can't get that $30 cut.
Well, I'm like, the right client.
Exactly, bro. Like you're 19, like you're not competing for the right work.
Well, and I think it comes back to this whole thing. And I was talking to our arborist today, who we bring in all the time. And, it's really the whole thing on getting good clients and on good people is educating them.
Totally.
And showing them like, okay, like we mow your lawn this way.
Right.
Or we are going to trim your trees this way. We install the landscape this way because that's the best horticulture practice. It's not because we make more money doing it this way.
Actual professional.
Yeah, you're actual professional. You start educating your clients on why you're doing what you do.
Right.
And price is not even a question. You totally take price out of the question when they start feeling educated by you.
Sure. Well, dude, when I'm talking to a good lawyer, I don't ask what's your rate. Like he's solving the most mega of problems for me.
Yep.
I don't even ask what your rate is. I don't even care. Send the invoice. Like, but here's the deal. He's solving big problems. He's adding huge value.
Yeah, and I think that comes. And we just did that with our truck lightering. It was like, well, who's the professional?
Right.
Who's been doing it for 20 years? Who's doing vehicle wraps? Sure, I paid my guy way more than what I could have charged down the road.
Sure.
But he educated me. Mm-hmm. He showed me what's the right product.
Right.
I put trust in him.
Sure.
He has a reputation.
Yeah.
That's what it comes back to. And that's what, if anybody's asking, like, how do I get more clients?
Right.
It's not only educating your current clients, but educating your, potential clients.
Right.
Using social media or using, whatever you got.
Yeah.
And talking to your customers is huge because if they start seeing the value, then it's like, oh, well, my uncle, Jim is like asking this question about why I should trim the tree or like who should trim the tree. well, they're gonna, refer you.
Sure.
Because they not only trust you,
You're their guy.
You're their guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it all comes back to. And I think that's why we rebranded. That's why we we changed it. And also it comes back to company culture, because we're investing in the people that work for us. This industry is extremely hard to find good people.
Yep.
It's not it's not easy to work in this industry also.
Nope.
And I think I started seeing some stuff on social media of like, well, these construction companies, they care about their employees. That's why they get employees. Mm-hmm. Well, why isn't that in the landscape industry?
Right.
Why is that not communicated?
Well, I'll give you 2 quick ones because people can't pay enough. Why? Because they don't charge enough. Why? Because they don't know their worth.
Yeah.
So it's like, you see, it's this like feedback loop.
Well, and I think if you, so 1, educate your customers. Mm-hmm. 2, take care of the people that work for you.
Yeah.
And 3, just communicate effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
And
100%.
I think if you use social media, great.
Right.
I think that's a really good means of communicating to your customers and to your potential employees.
Right.
Because I think you're communicating. Yeah, you're adding the value of like how to properly do something in their landscape.
Sure.
But then you start reflecting the values that you have in your company, and then John, the guy that works for the company down the road making $15 an hour.
Right.
He says, "Oh wow, this kid or this company cares about their people. They give paid time off. They give benefits. They have nicer equipment. They
They care.
They care about the people that work for them.
They're empathetic.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. So I think in the next 12 to 16 months, for us, I think that's going to come out more and more is these good people.
Right.
And I think I'll have an answer.
Right.
How to find good people in 12 to 16 months, because I'm going to start seeing that the value I'm putting out,
right,
and the values and the mission that we have, if we communicate it effectively on social media, I don't think we're gonna have a problem finding guys.
Well, I will say we've already, and it's funny doing this because we're recording this now and the podcast isn't even technically live, so we're pre-recording this. But so it's funny, but I did a podcast episode with Jeremy Connect with JJ Grounds, and great dude. We had an hour and a half podcast in powwow, and we talked about recruiting and finding good talent. And I, for 30 minutes, bro, just dropped bombs. So did Jeremy. It was solid about where to find people, how to recruit, how to keep people. And we talked about in depth for a half hour about what you just skated on. Yeah. So it's going to be a really, really good one. If you guys haven't listened to that, again, not sure what episode it is, but Jeremy Connect with JJ Grounds, great dude. Follow him on Instagram too. But well, hey, look at this, dude. I always tell our guests it turns into a time warp when we're talking because we got an hour and 6 on the board, and it feels like it's been 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you coming over because you had to drive over here. Not exactly the easiest or most convenient thing to do, but I know you really wanted to be in studio.
Yeah.
Because you just want to see my awesome dog in my awesome studio.
Well, yeah, the studio's pretty great, and the dog is even better. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, I'll take it. That's fair. I got a cute little dog. So
yeah.
Well, let's do this. 2 things. I always like to kind of wrap it up with this. Let's open mic, open forum for you.
Yep.
Any final thoughts or piece of advice? You've been doing this for a decade. I know you're only 19, but what about to the guys who are 15, 18, 19, 20, the younger guys that you would relate to? Any big tips or piece of advice you can give them? And then number 2, where can people find it if they want to learn more about you and keep up with you on social media?
For sure. So my number 1 tip, and honestly for starting a business out, growing a business, would be follow where happiness is. Setting these goals, setting these lifestyles, understanding where that's at.
That's huge.
And then build off of it. Just like you said, work back from it. I think that's a really good way to phrase it.
Yeah.
And I think also putting value in your customers and putting showing you the customers why you do what you do is huge. And I think that also reflects to your employees.
That's
I think
huge.
it will come back. Investing in others is huge because they do so much for you.
Right.
Take care of them.
Take care of them, man.
So, and I think that needs to be something that reflects throughout our industry going forward, and to improve the quality of our work,
right,
and to improve the value of our industry. It's going to be the next big thing is going to be the investing in the people that work for you and the the customers that you have.
Dude, I'm so it makes my heart happy just hearing you say that as a younger guy, and not that you're younger in business, because you've been doing it for a while, but just a young guy that you have a good head on your shoulders. I'm really optimistic about this next generation. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like the millennials, they are an interesting bunch. I'm one. We are a schizophrenic group.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about the 15 to 19 crowd because a all these studies and stats come out that they're going to be the most like conservative generation this country's ever had because they've seen the millennials, the boomers, and
we have a lot
Gen
of
Xers.
perspective on life, and we have a lot of perspective from other people and
social media.
And we have, I think you see everything now. It's not your just little bubble.
Right.
You see people across the country, across the world.
There's no hiding.
There's no hiding anymore.
Right.
So
I'm really excited about seeing this 15 to 20 crowd grow up and be the future leaders of trades and industry and business and these companies and politics. It's going to be really, really cool.
Yep.
And then where can people find you, by the way?
So we are doing Instagram, Facebook, more to our customers on Facebook, but Facebook, YouTube, Foxscapes, and then Foxscapes MI on Instagram.
Love it, bro. Absolutely. If you guys are not following Nathan here, I really encourage you to do so. We're definitely going to get you back on the show. Maybe we'll do like a summer, fall, maybe regroup and
for sure.
Try to get you back in once all the pandemonium's over, of the first 10, 12 weeks of the season.
Yep.
So we'll catch up June, July, but don't call me until then, right? No, I'm just kidding. But this is really good, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And for real, it's not just lip service. You could be doing anything else this night. And thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bro. All right, guys. Well, hey, if you enjoyed this one, do us a big solid. Hit 5 stars on the review and maybe leave a couple comments if you enjoyed Nathan and this podcast. And by the way, if you didn't enjoy it, do me a big solid. Hit 5 stars anyway. You guys know how it goes. So we really appreciate the support of the podcast and also the sponsors of the show. We really appreciate you guys, using the codes and supporting the sponsors. It makes all this content come out to you guys. It's not free to produce, so we also really appreciate that. Guys, that's it from this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. We look forward to catching up with you guys on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.